Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, we got three huge QB stories between Jaylen Milroe, Lenora Sellers, and, of course, Nico. All right, folks, this one's getting started a little bit late. I had to work today.
Drink it up, big boss. All right, drink it up, gambler.
You know how that goes. Once I got done swinging my Kaiser blade.
Some folks call it a sling blade. I call it a Kaiser blade.
So, anyway, I was able to concentrate on this show. And we're going to answer the questions. Is it Heisman or bench for Jaylen Milroe? We're going to talk about that. This thing with Shane Beamer, he's risking it all on Lenora Sellers. And I'll tell you what, I can kind of understand why. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, we're going to answer the question of Heisman or hype on Nico. You can probably guess my answer on that one. All right, so let's get into Jaylen Milroe, talk about this. This is a guy who is one of the most dangerous dual threat quarterbacks out there. His running ability is incredible. The question is he a good fit for Kalen DeBoer and his offense? Because if you've watched any of DeBoer's offense, it's all about timing, touch, and accuracy. Those are the three things you must have for his offense, the way he currently has it or the way he has had it set up over the many years. Now, can he adjust that to Jaylen Milroe? I certainly think he could. Does he want to? That's the question. And this is why I question it, because Milroe's quarterbacks usually throw for a lot of yards. As you can see, Penix Jr. threw for 4,900. Hainer threw for a little over 4,000. Milroe threw for under 3,000. So quite a bit of difference. So it may be the fact that Alabama was more of a running style offense, and maybe Milroe can increase his offense as far as passing, and he probably can. However, he does bring one thing that DeBoer might like. As you can see right here, his quarterbacks in the past, Hainer and Penix Jr., they didn't run very much at all, pretty much none. But as Milroe, as you can see, he's a tremendous runner. And that 531 yards, he was injured part of that year, had a hammy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. Now, I definitely think Jaylen Milroe will start the season. I don't think there's any question. However, if they do struggle and he has a tough time getting his offense squared away because of accuracy issues or something along those lines, he may look to switch. Now, they've got some tremendous quarterbacks down there, but they haven't really done anything. You start out with Ty Simpson, who was a 5-star. You know, I watched him in the spring game, and he's very accurate. He's not really a dual threat guy. He's really pretty much a pocket passer, but he's very accurate. They've got a guy by the name of Dylan Lonergan that they like. But DeBoer brought in Austin Mack from Washington, and he was a very high 4-star, and he'll be a sophomore this year, and he knows the system really well. So I wouldn't be shocked if Austin Mack, over time, started becoming an option. And I don't really understand why Ty Simpson didn't transfer out. He's a guy that a quarterback-hungry team would definitely give an opportunity, but he's sticking with Alabama, even with the head coach leaving and even with him obviously as the backup. And you would think he'd be getting tired of being a backup. But, you know, so far he's sticking. But anyway, we'll see how this plays out. But DeBoer does have his guy there, Austin Mack. So it's hard to say how this goes. Now, I get the feeling Milroe will keep the job. And it's not impossible at all that he could win the Heisman. As a matter of fact, he probably will be in New York. If he stays the starter the whole year, he'll probably be in New York. Now, I don't know if he'll have the numbers to win a Heisman, but he could definitely be an option. So that's one of the big quarterback stories this year, having a new coach come in. You've got a guy who's really a good quarterback, but he's got some weaknesses. Can DeBoer improve him, turn him into a better passer, or will DeBoer say, hey, you know what, this guy's such a great runner, maybe I should adjust my offense? Or do they lose a game or two and he says, I'm going to put my guy in here that knows my system and's got an accurate arm? It's hard to say, but we'll be watching closely. Now we're going to go with a really big story, and that's the South Carolina Gamecocks. And they've got a guy by the name of Lenora Sellers. Now, this dude, first of all, he is sporting one of the best pair of glasses I've ever seen. You got to like him just for that alone. I mean, those right there, that is some throwback stuff. And on top of that, the guy's a straight A student. That's another reason why I like him. Now, there's a third reason I actually like this guy. He was a 3-star, not a 4-star or a 5-star or, you know, some guaranteed guy. He was a high 3-star, which for quarterbacks, they usually don't see the field. This guy is very much a dual threat. He runs really well, and I fully expect him to take advantage of his ability to run, and he's going to be a problem for a lot of defenses because he can really move for a big dude. He's like 6'3", 250, and we've seen guys like that really succeed in the SEC. The only question I have with him is his accuracy of his arm and his footwork. I watched him in the spring game. He throws off his back feet a little bit. He really, his fundamentals aren't quite there. They need to work hard with him this summer. He is a tremendous athlete, and if they can get him throwing accurately and on time, he could be very dangerous. I can understand why Beamer is excited about him and why he's the obvious starter. They haven't really come out and named him the starter, but he's definitely going to be the starter. And he's excited, and Beamer's excited about him. That's pretty obvious. But I'll tell you what, he needs to be, because if he has a losing season this year, he's gone. You can just count on it. So he's risking a lot. I thought they would go out, spend a ton of money, and get a guy like Brock Vandergriff, or basically do what they did with Spencer Rattler. You know, they went and got him a 5-star, and Spencer played well. Spencer kind of carried the team for a couple of years, and had he had a decent offensive line last year, he would have performed at a much higher level. He really got hit a lot. We literally ran him out of Neyland Stadium. We ran him out of his own end zone. We sacked him so much and pressured him so much. And that was the whole year. The very first game they played North Carolina, and Carolina sacked him like 9 times. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anybody get sacked that much.
9 times?
9 times.
So they need a dual threat quarterback, and their backup is Robbie Ashford, who also is a dual threat guy, but another arm issue. He's not terribly accurate, but he's really fast, and they're going to need that. Unless they've improved that offensive line dramatically, they need a guy that can run. So I definitely think Beamer's going to give him an opportunity and probably stick with him even if they have some tough times. I think he'll stick with him, and he may turn out to be a heck of a quarterback. I find myself rooting for him. I do. I don't know if it's the glasses, the tremendous grades, it's all of it. It's every bit of it. So I'll be watching that story very closely because, look, Beamer won't be coach if he doesn't play well. If he plays well, he'll be fine. You know, if they win 7, 8 games, they're not going to let Shane Beamer go. They owe him too much money. All right, now we need to talk about Nico Iamaleava. This is a guy I fully expect to be in New York, and this goes for all 3 quarterbacks, as long as they stay healthy. You know, obviously they all need to stay upright and not get hurt. But I think I could not feel more confident in his ability to wind up in New York and have an opportunity to win the Heisman this year, his sophomore season. You can just tell watching somebody play football, or really any sport, whether they're going to be special or not. You can watch enough of it, and we've seen enough of a sample size that he moves differently than a lot of quarterbacks do. He reminds me so much of a tall Bryce Young, and Bryce Young was a magician. He was unbelievable, but he was a shorter version of Nico. Nico goes out and scores 4 touchdowns his very first game against a top 10 defense, and he just has a knack. He has that ability to escape. Just Bryce Young, we literally had him tackled so many times at Neyland, it was unbelievable, and he would just poof. Next thing you know, he's 5 yards away throwing a touchdown. I think that's what Nico's going to do. And I fully expect him to have Hendon Hooker numbers, but to play like a tall Bryce Young over time. And I think he's got a very legitimate chance of winning the whole thing. We will see. You never know who's going to win a Heisman. You got to have the stats, and you've got to also win a bit of a popularity contest, as we know with Peyton Manning.
Omaha! 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 Omaha!
So anyway, those are, to me, 3 of the biggest QB stories in the whole country, certainly in the SEC. Now, we're going to be keeping track of Brock Vandergriff, too, at Kentucky. I think that's another one that's going to be very unique and interesting. Former 5-star, backed up Carson Beck. And one of the great things about the transfer portal, and I know everybody doesn't like it, I get it, but plenty of people do, and a guy that's a 5-star sitting behind Carson Beck who could go be a starter for Kentucky, that's good for him as an athlete. You know, as a former Division I athlete myself, sitting on the bench is no fun. You want to participate. You want to play. And with the transfer portal, you've got that opportunity. I mean, there are so many great quarterbacks that used to have to ride the bench that are now getting to play. That's why it's really hard to have quality backup talent behind your starter. It's very difficult because who the crap wants to go into a place where you know you're going to be sitting on the bench? Nobody wants to do that. And now you can leave without being penalized. You used to have to sit for a year, and that was even if the coach agreed. Those days are over. Players can do as they please. So anyway, we'll be keeping track of these 3 stories and many others. But anyway, I just thought it would be interesting to cover this because there's no more important position than quarterback. It's by far the most important position on every team. The guy touches the ball every time on offense, and he controls whether or not you turn the ball over most of the time. So kind of an important position. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college stories, SEC, all this good stuff. I'm looking forward to watching this. And if you've not subscribed, hit this little button right here. Cost you not a dime. I would certainly appreciate it. Over half of you don't hit that button.
Sacrifices have to be made, mister.
I don't know why. Anyway, and right over here's the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.